Okay. Hello, guys. Welcome to the stream. We've been waiting to talk to you all day long. I see you guys in the comments. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let me know if you see me. I'm not seeing any of the chats pop up right now. I hope it's live. Okay. Well, it is good to see you. Man, this is definitely going to be a tough video. I wanted to start by saying, first of all, thank you to every single person. Stop that. Thank you to every single person who has just been here supporting and loving, and how much I appreciate your guys' comments, and you guys have shown me a lot of love. We are in the new, I feel like we have a new studio every single week, but we're in a newer studio, so I think it looks decent for now. It's so good to see you guys popping up live. I did see someone, I wanted to shout you out. I think you're in the comments. You said that you were in Spain and it was 3 a.m. I just wanted to say hi specifically because that is crazy. All right, so tonight we're going to jump in to some deeper thoughts. So after I had this interview with my mom, and let me again preface it by saying that yes, she 1000% knew that we were doing an interview. I talked to her just in text form, asking her multiple times to confirm that she understood that this was an interview. So by no means did she not know that this was all of it was going to possibly be used. And I asked her multiple times and keep confirming, do you understand that this is an interview? Do you understand what we're doing? Like just really on top of it. So I just wanted to say that. I know there's been a lot of confusion in the comments about that. But yes, this was an interview with her and she 1000% knew. With that being said, from most of you who have watched it, or if you haven't seen it, either way, this was really hard to go through. And it left me, though, following this interview, really unlocked some part of my emotional being that needed to be unlocked. And I think I needed to fully accept the situation and fully accept really what this is. So I'm just going to start with that. Appreciate you guys. Yes, I see. Hit the like button. We appreciate it if you hit the like button. It's getting a little late for me. Let me slow my tongue down. The like button, if you'd like to hit that, that's a real thing. And if subscribe to the channel, if you guys put on your post notifications to let you know when we post. I'm trying to make sure that you guys are very up to date in what we're doing, so that way we can all be together, hang out, especially when it comes to live streams and things of that nature. I just wanted to make sure that we are always kind of on the same page. So that really matters to me. Appreciate that. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with Dr. John. An amazing conversation, and I feel like we really covered a lot of good pieces of this. But again, this is going to be a lot more in depth just because we're actually going to go through it and listen to it. So why don't we just get started? I appreciate you guys, and we're just going to jump right into this. I'll be reading your guys' chats. When I pause to make a point, I'll also read what you guys are saying, and we can kind of just conversate this whole thing out. You guys are a part of this now. I knew when I posted this that this was going to be very difficult, but also it's been very healing. And you guys have been a part of that, just kind of pointing out different things that I didn't notice. And I really just want you to appreciate that. I really want to appreciate you guys and saying that everything that you said in the comments about just your points of views has really helped me also process this whole thing. Because obviously I can't see everything, but it's really helped. So Red Bull's a vibe. Hey, listen, when you hit 28 and your kids wake up at 5 and you go to work around 5 and you're up early, 7 o'clock is like midnight. So let's just toast to it. Okay. We're going to just be chill, talk it through. Maybe I'll not mess up my words anymore. Anyway, we're going to jump into the interview. Let me guys know what you think as we're going through. And again, like I said, when I pause it, I'll try to read what you're saying and we'll go from there. So let's get started immediately. We'll turn it down too if it's too loud. Are you still there? Can you hear me?
I do the best. I do the best with what we have.
Right. You try what you can.
Yeah. Are you cutting out?
Yeah. Can you hear me? I'm trying to keep it going.
Yeah. No, you sound good. it to me. I don't know if you can hear me very well.
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good. But
So,
yeah,
I know you have all the questions and everything, but how are you doing? Are you okay?
Again, we're gonna pause it. You guys have been here for the reactions. When she asked me if I was okay, for some reason my first thought was do not let her see any weakness. I don't really know why I thought that, but my first thought was do not even give her the room to know if you're okay or not okay. So I just told her, yep, found my strength. No thanks to you. And, that was just for her to even ask that question, knowing the circumstances was definitely, to me, just over the top. I mean, I'm not okay. So I don't know. My first thought was to protect myself and basically immediately just not even give her the room. So just thought I'd share that there. I'm better now, if I'm being honest with you. It's taken a long process to work through all this stuff. It's been a lot of years, but I've definitely found my strength. So I think that's where I'm at right now. But
well, yeah. I know you've got to be busy with kids and everything, so that your life moves fast when you have little kids and you're doing your life. So, I didn't want any of this for you, as you know.
Yeah.
You told me.
So again, let me just preface this. Turn the volume up. I'll turn it up for you guys if it's too quiet. Yeah, she's acting like she is not responsible, and just kind of how she's talked to me since before when I was talking to her when before we found out about the kids, that she just kind of talks to you like everything's normal and fine, and just absolutely like mind-boggling because it's not fine. That. So I think that was really tough. Let me see if I can turn the volume up for you guys. I don't want to turn it up too loud. You're gonna hear a lot of background noise. All right. Is that better? Let's try that, and we'll go from there. But yeah, the one thing I did really want to point out again, and I didn't really realize, and I'm gonna give a huge shout out to Kelsey. She is watching this. She's the one that has really told me this stuff over time, but I never could understand fully what she meant by that. She spent a lot of time trying to explain this, and especially when she heard this phone call, she was explaining that it's very manipulative, very narcissistic. But you guys also reaffirmed that. So thank you, Beth. Appreciate that. Yeah, exactly. Battling to stay. I think that you do what you can, guys. You do what you can. In a situation like this with someone you love that you have to learn how to let them go, it is just not an easy task. That's not an easy task. And this was the conversation that I realized how manipulative she was being towards me. And like I said with Dr. John, if you didn't see it, I'll just say it again here. A part of me was really fighting that because I felt like a part of me wanted to reach back out. A part of me wanted to have my mom and believe her. And I know she wasn't right, and I don't believe her in any way, shape, or form. But it's like you just want to believe she's not a bad person. And that's a really, really weird place to be in because I know for a fact that she's so wrong. And I know that nothing she said was true. But it was really manipulative, and she really tried to pull me in. And I didn't realize how hard she was pulling me in until I started seeing more of the comments. And I was like, wow, you're right. You guys are right. Like this is horrible. So anyway, love you guys. Let's continue. This is going to be a long video, a hard video. We might break this into 2 parts, depending on how long it takes us to get through this, because I don't think, we're a minute in. It's gonna be a long one. So I hope you got your Red Bull. Okay. Not a sponsor, but we'll give it to them. And hope you got your popcorn because this might be a long one. Or your chips, whatever you like. All right. Let's pop back into it.
That Tylee had come to you in a dream.
Right.
And you never told me what she said or what her message was to you.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I always wanted to ask you privately, right? Like me and you, like, what did she say?
Thank you. I don't remember. If I'm being honest with you, I don't really know if I believe in the visiting of ancestors anymore. I don't really like people who are in your family. I don't think that's something that I've ever seen biblically where like you really get visitors from your family on behalf of Christ. I've dreamed a lot of things, if that's what you're asking. I've dreamed a lot of things about you, and I've dreamed a lot of things about my family, but I've never fully dreamed what I can't remember exactly what you're referring to, if that's what you're asking me.
Okay. Yeah, but you called me, and so you knew something wasn't right, and you were questioning me, and you were asking. But this is before you knew anything, and you had a dream with Kylie. I'm not saying she actually visited you, but you had some kind of.
You just asked me if she visited. You just asked me if she had visited me. This is the one thing that was really hard. Our conversation was before she kept asking me, have you had any confirmation on this? Have you had any spiritual experiences about what's going on? She never said anything because she was already in jail, but she kept saying, have you had any experiences? Has anything happened? I think she really truly believed or wanted to believe that some spiritual entity was going to visit me and tell me that she's what she says she is. I think that's what this is the whole time, because it's such an odd thing to continue to say. Have you had a dream? What did Tylee say? And I said, well, I don't believe in that. And then she says, oh, well, I don't believe that either. So she kind of just immediately tries to flip flop with you and kind of chameleon and always be on your side. So it's this whole thing, just you realize more and more the more you listen to it, and it's just tough. It's really weird to ask me if Tylee about a dream that I had about Tylee. And I think she's referring to a really long time ago. So I think this might have been during our conversations when she was in jail, back when she first got arrested and was in Idaho and all that stuff. And I told her I had a dream about Tylee, something of that nature. So it's a really long time ago. So it's a weird, very specific question to ask me. I'm not sure what the point of that was.
And I wondered, because she had passed away, if she had actually visited you and told you something, because she visited me and told me plenty of things. And the very first thing she told me was, I'm sorry, Mom, for being such a brat. That's the first thing that she told me. And it was so tiring.
I'm going to pause here because this was the moment. This was the moment I had to make that decision to not say a rebuttal. This was a moment where I said to myself, there's no way she just said that out of her mouth, and then laughed. For some reason, she really thinks this stuff is funny. Per all of our conversations, she really, really laughs like everything is just funny. And so for her to murder my sister and then say she came from heaven to apologize to you after you murdered her, and then try to tell me that she came to you and apologized for being a brat her whole life, and it was so her and it was so whatever. I don't think it gets more nuttier than that. So this was a moment, again, that I had to make a very, very conscious decision to say, I cannot give her any ammo. I can't let her know I'm upset. And a part of me is happy we didn't FaceTime. There was, the whole point was actually we were going to face this interview. And I'm really kind of glad in this moment now. I'm glad that we really didn't, because I don't think I could have held back the emotion. So thank you. I appreciate that. I love you guys. I'm happy you guys are here. I'm happy we can kind of talk this stuff out. It's definitely, I think, really helpful to talk about things that are hard. And this is really hard. This is still really hard. Even as I knew that sentence was coming just now, my whole body just cringed. So, okay. So let's just keep going. Yeah, there's no words for what, I can't believe she said that to me. And again, yes, it was an interview, but to say that to me as her brother, like, I'm with you, like we're on the same team, and I'm gonna laugh or something. I don't know what her thought process was through that. So.
And it was so her. So I just wondered if she had said something to you that you recalled. And that was such a long time ago. I just always have wondered, because I never asked you at the time, what your dream was. You just had told me that you had a dream and that she had come to you, so I wondered.
Yeah, I don't really remember, to be honest with you.
Okay. I just didn't know if that was something that. And I totally appreciate what you believe or don't believe or whatever. You know what I believe, so it's not a big secret.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you know from when you knew me, not what you know from what police have told you or other people have told you, but what you actually know from me personally. Which that's the only other thing I wanted to ask you about, because do you remember our drive to Reno, just me and you, right?
Mm-hmm. And I remember you telling me some really out there stuff.
Yeah. So we took a drive together to Reno, and she tried to pitch me that idea. Thank you, Lynn, for saying that. She tried to pitch me the idea. She said to me, what do you think about multiple lives or something of that nature, kind of to warm it up? And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, well, there's definitely people who've had multiple probations. And I just remembered immediately, I said, Mom, that's never happened. No one's ever lived more than once. That's reincarnation. You know what reincarnation is? And I remember she was so upset, like just shut down, because there wasn't going to be a back and forth there. But for you to say that, and for you to try to tell me that there is, like, it's fact, I'm smart enough to know, at least when it comes to the Bible, and understanding my scripture, that was one thing I know that has never ever been mentioned in the Bible. So it's just simple as that. It's as simple as that. So I think that she really wanted to draw people in. And I guess some people believed her. I guess some people were manipulated enough to believe in her belief system. And like I said before, I think I mentioned this with John. It was a really good point too, was she was so good at trying to convince you, because she seemed like had done all this research and all these things. So I think that was like one of those things where it's like, you just really have to know your scripture, and you also have to be able to understand that that's not true. And I think that she wanted to draw people in. She wanted people to join her cult. It was a cult. So it's just really tough, because she pitched me that, and it just immediately got thrown off the table. So I'm glad I told her that. I'm glad. That's one thing I'm glad I told her, is that's ridiculous. Anyway, let's keep going, guys. Love you and appreciate your comments.
Just told me that there's multiple lives, and I told you that's not true, and I really don't believe in that at all. I don't think anybody's ever lived multiple probations. I don't think anybody's ever come back besides Jesus himself. I don't think that's not something that we do. That's reincarnation. That's not something that Jesus ever mentioned in the Bible, ever. There's nobody who comes back and lives in flesh and is born again and has a whole nother different life and experience. So I truly knew when you told me that didn't make any sense to me, and it didn't sit right with my spirit. But I trusted you as my mom. I tried to give you the room to share with what you thought and felt. But as years went by, I had to do my own research on the things. And I remember thinking, when you did that and said that, I remember thinking, that's just not right in my spirit. And everybody's entitled to believe what they want, but I'm telling you, for me personally, that in no way, shape, or form do I believe that anybody's ever lived a different life. I think once you're gone, you go to heaven or wherever the Lord puts you. And
that's so heaven or hell. Heaven or hell. And that's something actually me and Kelsey talked about too, is that's what I meant. I should have just said that. I think a part of me was being fragile. Why am I trying to find those without the camera? Part of me was trying to, for some reason, be fragile. And I also was walking on eggshells. You guys, obviously, I explain these in these videos, but it's really hard to explain unless you've experienced. But she's someone that is very, 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 very sensitive, trigger sensitive. So like if I say something, it'll just be blah, blah, blah. And there's actually a lot of parts in this interview alone where she does that and goes off. And I think that's the point. It's like I was trying so hard to say things without triggering her so we could continue the conversation. Now, the second point that I'll make here, and the more frustrating part, is I had an entire interview as I'm on here, and I was going on my computer trying to find my notes, trying to organize them, and trying to ask her a ton of questions. And, I had all kinds of questions about Chad and do you think you're still LDS? What do you believe in? I mean, we were going to go through the works of just a whole bunch of lists, and there were so many things that went wrong with this. And it just kept getting worse and worse, and the quality of the call was horrible, and her phone was dropping, and there was just so much going on. So like what I got is what I got, basically. The goal was to give her the opportunity to answer a question. That was it. I was going to ask a question and see what she said, because she gets to choose what she says. She could have told me the truth, and you guys know obviously what happened. So this is definitely a tough one. So, yeah, that is 1,000% true. And that's definitely a hard thing, is when somebody's that trigger ready every time you mention something. Like if you call them out on the simplest of things and they're just bah, 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 bah. So what are you supposed to do with that? So I knew that was going to be the situation in this interview times 100, honestly. So that's why there's kind of an eggshell feel to what I'm doing and saying. Love you guys too. All right, let's keep going.
That is my true conviction to myself. I don't believe in anything else.
Well, I honor and respect that. And just like you said, I honor and respect what everyone else believes. They can believe whatever they want to believe, right?
But don't you think that's dangerous to believe anything and just kind of have your own basis of belief rather than something that's based in truth and what the Bible says?
Okay, so I agree with you 100%. And there's a purpose for what the Bible does, and there's a purpose for...
You don't agree. Here's the only thing I don't like is if you are this convicted, stand on it. Stop trying to honor and respect me, right? Honestly, if you are this convicted that you are that person, don't try to pander to me. Tell me what it is. I guess it's like you either double down or you backpedal. And she did neither one. She just stayed neutral. And she was trying to act as if she was being so respectful of my beliefs. Right. I don't know. Just ridiculous.
What it says, and it says all the right things. And most people who ever come to this earth only come one time. And that's why the Bible is for everyone. This is higher knowledge that people who need to know it can know it, and people that don't need to know it don't need to know it. So it's not widespread. It comes directly from Jesus to me. It doesn't come from any other source. It comes from Jesus Christ to me. And so that...
Cut out right there.
Let's go back to what you said.
All right. So here's something interesting that happened. Oh, Kelsey. She's very beautiful, isn't she? This was really hard because I actually found, so like I said, the camera's cutting out a little bit because we had an audio jack in there. We were supposed to FaceTime. That didn't work. The audio is the only thing that was working. It was very, very horrible circumstances as far as tech goes. So then her phone's cutting in and out. So I guess there was a part where we were talking about her, and I straight up asked her, I said, I want to understand what zombies are. You need to explain that to me, because that's really what really triggers this whole thing. That's what really, to me, is the beginning of choosing life and death for these human beings, right? Is that they believe that this idea that you are possessed so badly that your body's hijacked, and now there's nothing left of the person. The flesh is just is there, but the thing inside of it is a demon, right? So I was so clear. I said, you need to tell me about this zombie thing. I want to hear what your thoughts are on this. And that whole clip of like me asking the question and getting her answer, which she already deflected off of the answer of the zombie thing. She really pushed me off on that and did the same thing and kind of danced around it. So I had to reiterate. And in that time, she brought up there's something very interesting. And I don't know why she tried to use this example, but she talked about it. She mentions it again because I re-asked her, but she said, I believe in what happens in season 2, episode 5 of The Chosen. And obviously, I should have probably looked that up, but I think that's the episode where there's the first time they ever show Jesus casting out a demon. The guy like comes into their camp and he's like totally, sounds crazy, all this stuff. And Jesus comes running back to the camp and like just literally goes, get out. And the dude is right back to normal. I think that's what she's referring to. And I think it's very interesting to use a TV show. I mean, I'm not saying The Chosen isn't great, but I'm also saying I think it's just a little bit ridiculous that, I don't know. I think it's just a little bit ridiculous to reference The Chosen because it always seems to be something more fictional rather than scriptural or basis. Again, I really love The Chosen. I think it's a great show. I think it's really well done. But it's not like you base truth off of the show alone. It's a show about the Bible, and it does kind of stretch that out a little bit. So I'm just putting that out there. Again, no hate to The Chosen. Absolutely love that show. But I'm not going to base everything they do in the show as fact, right? A little bit different from that. So I just wanted to say that. But that whole audio clip cut, and that was really hard because we missed a lot of context there. So I had to go back to it. Yeah, exactly. I could have been snarky. I could have said a lot of stupid things to her, but obviously it was a really, really hard conversation. But it's hard to listen to somebody who's this far gone, if you want to call it that, but also trying to continue to push on that button, right? So the whole goal, I feel like I zoomed out and see the whole goal was like coming from my heart. That's what it looks like and feels like. Is like a part of her was still trying to come from my heart, and that was a hard thing to accept. That was a really hard thing to accept. So it took a really long time to get to that point. So I'm reading your guys' super chats as we go along. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you being here for this podcast. It's been really, really good for me, and you guys have been really, really good to me, and I appreciate you. And it has been really, really nice to have so many people just share their thoughts, share their love. Again, I said this earlier in the podcast, in the stream, but you guys have really helped me too with your perspectives because a lot of you have actually been really vulnerable in the comments, and I want to really address you real quick because obviously I can't respond to every single comment, but like when I can read them and go through them and read, you guys have really been vulnerable too, and you've shared your stories about your families and your parents, and just kind of giving your points. I've seen some therapists have chimed in and made their points, and I think that's really been really helpful too. But just when you guys are when we're vulnerable, there's something that can happen there. There's something real that can happen, and there can be a real conversation without there being any bias or anything. You're just talking out something, and that's what matters to me. So that's all I've ever cared about doing on this channel. That's what matters to me, and we have created a beautiful community of all of you guys, and we have a lot of new subscribers, which I'm grateful for because I just want our community to continue to grow. And again, I want to be able to help in any way, that shape, form that I can. And you guys have been a part of this journey. So really appreciate that. Okay. Making my point to you. Okay. Appreciate you guys. I'm going to get back into the video. Drop your comments and stuff. Try to highlight some stuff. We can do some discussion afterwards and we'll keep going. I don't know how far in we are. Oh, guys, we're 5 minutes in. We're about 6 minutes in. This is going to be either a really long video for us or we're going to have to do this in 2 parts. Ooh. I just have so much to say to you guys about what's going on here. So, all right, let's jump back in. I feel like, honestly, that there's a lot to talk about here. Can you go over? You said Tylee's been visiting you, so I wanted. There's a lot of things I want to go
through, but you said Tylee visited you and spoke to you. And JJ, I heard this in your statement that you made. I wanted to know, what you mean by that. And, one of the reasons I wanted to talk.
I'm asking her to tell me, be specific. That's what I'm asking is, what does it mean by visit? Because you asked me about a dream where you said that Tylee visited you in a dream, or asked if I got visited by Tylee in a dream versus being like manifested in front of. That's a very, very different thing. So I was trying to be specific and I wanted her to basically just say what she means. And she just said that. So yeah, we're 6 minutes in, guys. Let's keep going.
Legion. Let's go back to what we were talking about. So in the Bible, there's that moment, I think it's in John 5, where Jesus casts out the demons.
It's Mark 5.
And he gets rid of them, and then the man is back to normal. You said that there was a reference to the chosen, and I wanted to hear what you said because it cut out. So what do you believe in when it comes to the zombie idea? Because that's where you were at. That's what you were telling me.
Yes, I would love to address this because.
Okay, there it is. So that I just wanted to point that out again. She's saying I'd love to address this because she knows that this is going to be public. So this is her making her point, and we'll go over some of the stuff she says in here, but it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. That's Kelsey again. But yeah, it's definitely super, super ridiculous. And this was her explanation of everything. She said okay, anyway, let's play it. I don't know what she said there, by the way.
This has gone out of control, India. Whoever made up this whole zombie thing and escalated what my basic belief was. Okay? I, Lori, have gone through my whole entire discovery, and there's not one thing. Do you know if you do a search and you do the word zombie in a search in my discovery, do you know the only thing that comes up is when JJ was ordering those little zombie babies from Minecraft. That's the only thing that comes up in all of my 19 years of my iCloud. I was not saying that. That is not something I said.
All right, so that's a dang lie. We both know that. Yeah. I don't even think iCloud's been around for 19 years. So let's put it that way. Would you ever do a podcast with Chad Frankie, since you both have similar upbringings and mothers in prison? What's actually interesting? Kelsey's the one that told me who Chad was. Chad Frankie, let's be very clear, not Chad Daybell. But I would definitely talk to Chad. I think he is. I can't imagine what he's been through, but my whole goal again on this channel is to talk to people like him and talk to different people and provoke. Guys, I'm really struggling at 7:30. Provoke thoughts, and have conversations with people like that are very real, and are outside of the norm of something that you would hear in the mainstream media. That's kind of the whole point. And I think that Dr. John helped me break that barrier and just what is possible to talk about without there being a goal of trying to get something out of you. Just really talk it through. So I would definitely talk to Chad. I really hope he's doing all right with everything. And I feel for him. I just watched a tiny little clip of his story. And it was just enough. So, but I've seen some comments about him. I've seen some comments about others. Again, that's the goal here. Really, really talk to different types of people and really walk through, people's stories and testimonies. Everybody's been through things. So that's how we learn and grow. So with that being said, let's get back to this. We're going real slow, but we'll get through it together.
Yeah. So yes, can evil spirits visit humans like it did in John 5? Yes, I believe that. Do I believe I have the power to cast them out? Yeah, I do. The same way he cast them out in episode 5 of season 2 of The Chosen.
Okay.
So yes, those are my bait.
cut out
You
again.
there?
Sorry, the Wi-Fi here is so terrible. It just keeps cutting out.
Sorry. Yeah, we can just go through it. So you were saying that you never said the word zombie. That was never used by you.
Ever.
Okay, so she called people Z's. The thing I actually saw was her text saying that I think she texted Alex and said, "Dude, so bad news, our brother's a Z." I think that's in the documentary. I just don't understand how you think I don't know what that means. As if I don't know anything and that everything that has been said is an absolute lie. Everything that anybody has reported on, her texts, everything else is a lie. She never said these things. She's doing it. I'm really curious on how her mind is going to this place. So, is it breaking up? Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. I hope the live's not messing up here. Can you guys hear me? Hope it's not messing up here. You guys hear me? Is that better? Sorry, guys. You know, we're just learning how to stream. Hopefully, it's gonna be still work for you guys. Sounds better. I'll try to keep the mic right here. That might be another big problem. Yeah, guys, let me know if it's good. We'll keep going. We'll keep going through this, trucking through. But yeah, it's really, really tough. I don't know how you can get to this point where you're mentally trying to tell me like I've never seen or heard anything from anybody else or any of the evidence. It's better. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for helping me out. I would have just kept going. It might be the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi might be messed up. So hopefully it doesn't do that to you guys. But this is really, really, really crazy to me that she's just trying to sit there to convince me that this is the reality, that she never said this, that this was not done, that none of this happened the way that people are saying that it happened, as if everybody conspired together to come against her. I guess you just really don't understand how life works at this point. So tell me let me know if it's choppy. We're going to keep trying to go. If it's really messed up, I don't know. I don't want to give you guys a bad life. So let's just jump back in. I'll read your guys' comments. Hopefully it'll catch up and the live will catch up to you guys. Okay. We'll go from there.
Okay. So, I mean, I have a lot to ask you, honestly, but I wanted to give you the floor to really say your piece. And since we're cutting out so much, maybe it's just a good time. You told me one day you'd want to say it in our last phone call.
Good.
You said that you wanted to tell me what has happened. So I'm going to just give you the floor real quick. If you want to say your piece, and maybe I'll just have follow-up questions after that. But I want to go ahead, and I think you know what I'm referring to is what really happened then with my brother and my sister and this whole thing. And I know that we could talk.
So real quick, at this point in the interview, like I said, so much has happened. She's already said a bunch of crazy stuff. And because the audio is so bad, because it's choppy, because it's not working, I just really had to make a decision and say, you know what? If this, you have a certain amount of time per call anyway. And then on top of that, you're paying for time. And so all this is happening and all of this is going on. And I just knew I kind of had to throw the rest of the interview out because I knew things were going to go the way I wanted to. So I truly just kind of said, okay, just let's get to my main question I have for you. And I just jumped in, and that's basically, this is how this whole thing happened, is really to see if she would answer this question. And we had to jump in because I didn't know how long it was going to last. I didn't know if she was ever going to be able to call back. Like it was at that point. So we had to jump into the deep end at this point. So we're going to play this through.
Talk about my dad, but I'm assuming that that's because of your case is a little not for right now. We can always follow up on that at some point because I do have a lot of questions about it all. But I'm gonna try to just keep it strictly to my brother and my sister. So I just want to give you the floor real quick, and I think we'll just kind of go from there.
Well, it's obviously different than what everyone else thinks, and I don't know that
Thank
if
you, Mama.
knew the truth of what really actually happened, if you would want it to be in a public forum. Colby, I mean, I've talked to you personally. I know that you are the only person on this planet, to me, who loved Kylie and JJ as much as I do. The only person. So in all of my 4 years or 5 years of going through this, because it's been 5 years now,
Yeah.
I have asked every one of my attorneys, how can you help me to talk to Colby in a way that I can let him know the truth of what happened, because he's the only person on this planet, not my mom, not my sister, not anybody else. Colby is the only person.
This is what really pisses me off. We're not two peas in a pod. The fact that you think I'm the only one that deserves answers is the craziest thing ever. I stood in those rooms and I saw all the people who were affected as victims. Okay, I saw all of their faces and all of their lives have changed. And you're going to tell me that you would only tell me, first of all, that's ridiculous. Okay, it's ridiculous. I don't just deserve to know. I'm not the only person on the planet Earth that loved Kylie and JJ. So that first statement alone is ridiculous, right? Secondly, she's trying to create us to be pulled in together. Or I had to see that. She's pulling me in at this point to kind of make us special. And I think that's really, really hard. I don't know. It's just really hard to process still that it was this manipulative, because at first it's just emotional. I can see on my own face it's emotional because I just have never got this out of her. So for her to keep saying it was just us. I know I did a lot for my brother and my sister, but I'm the only one that loved them. And I'm the only one that deserved answers. That's absolutely ridiculous. I've never heard your opinion on Alex. Do you believe he's 100% accountable like everybody else, or do you believe he was their fall guy? That is interesting. A lot of people have asked me about Alex. That could be a very long video if we did talk about it. I could give you a long answer, a short answer. I mean, there's a lot I could say about him. I had to process him differently because I wasn't as connected to Alex. I'll just tell you what I think real quick. And then we'll talk about this subject separately. This is definitely something we should talk about separately. But I think that Alex was seriously just put in position to do whatever my mom said, and I can't believe he did it. I can't believe he listened to anybody, and I can't believe that I 1000, in my own opinion, believe he was the number one person that did all of the killing. That's my opinion. I don't know if that's true 100%, but that's what I think. So outside of that, there's a lot more we could get into. Yeah, we'll definitely let's leave that for another time. I think that there's a lot to say there. I just there's so much to process here, Let's stick to this. Let's stick to this real quick. I appreciate your comment. Something we'll talk about at some point. But yeah, there's a lot of people, a lot of hurt, a lot of betrayal, a lot of family members, and all of this stuff is very, very complex. So just wanted to say that one little piece, not get too deep into it. Okay, so we're gonna jump back into this. I appreciate you guys sticking with us. We're rocking, we're rolling, we're 10 minutes in. Well, we might have to do a part 2, guys. We might have to. It's getting long. All right. And anyway, if anything else is going wrong tech wise, you guys just let me know in the comments.
Person on this planet who loved JJ and Tylee like I did. He was the only person that truly cared. And in my opinion, he is the only person who deserves to know what really happened. So can you help me find a way where I can talk to Colby privately and tell him, because this is a horrible situation and I want to be able to talk to you, but I don't want to. I don't know that after you know what actually happened, if you would want that to be public.
Okay. Well, basically, you said no one was murdered. That was your biggest statement. You said not one single person was murdered. That everybody, you said there were suicides and deaths, accidental deaths, and you said that there was drug overdoses. That no one was murdered. So that's what I'm going to ask you then. If you were willing to say it in your statement, then I'm asking you to say it to me. If you don't want to go into detail, that's your decision. But that's what I'm asking you today.
So I was point blank asking her because I'm not sure if you guys saw my video, but I processed my mom's statement she made in court at the end of her trial. And that was where she made that statement very clear. She said that no one was taken, that everything was an accident. She said all that stuff. And I think that I was just like, okay, so you just said it. Now, you didn't get specific, but you said what you said happened. So I'm asking you point blank, what do you mean by that? What are you talking about? Because we all know they were murdered. We all know that. And you're sitting here saying that never happened. So I had to find a way to directly ask her things in a very soft way. Again, trying to avoid triggers, trying to not get just snapped on, and trying to actually see if she'd give an answer. Because again, if you trigger her, she's going to go off the rails and it's become an emotional reaction in a volcano. And I had to just slow my roll the best I could and ask her questions slowly, just so she would actually give me the answer. Because she kept trying to dance around it. She's saying, I don't know if you want this to be public, because she knows it's an interview. So the first thing she tried to set me up with is, I want to tell you in private. I want to tell you in private. I want to tell you in private. Well, guess what? There's not going to be that time. We're not going to have a private conversation where you just tell me what's going on. So I need you to tell me. And so I just had to get straight to that point. So just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Anyway, let's keep going.
Well, what I can tell you is that I wrote out what happened with those 38 pages, and that's what I was telling my attorneys. I need this to get to Colby. I don't care who else it has to go through, but I don't think it's fair to Colby to not have this information, since he is the only person I feel like was as close to that cared about JJ and Tylee like I did. Now, you are the only person, Colby, in the entire world that I felt like I said, I want to talk to Colby and tell him, because he deserves to know. I don't care what anybody else knows, and I frankly don't care what anybody else thinks. It's not their children. They're my children, and they're your brother and sister, and we were the family, and we were the ones doing everything for them. And when you took care of JJ, when Tylee was in the hospital that time before we had to move to Hawaii, and you sat there with him.
All right, here it goes. This is the manipulation I realized. And it's hard because this stuff's real. This is real life stories. She's pulling from the past. She's pulling from my experiences that she knows that meant a lot to me. I was 17 years old, if that, when we were about to move to Hawaii, and Tylee had to go to the hospital for her pancreatitis. And my mom was gone. They were gone for usually if they ever went to the hospital for that, they were gone for at least 3 to 5 days, maybe more. And Charles had left, and so I was by myself with JJ, and he was young, and he was unresponsive in a lot of ways. Like, he wasn't we couldn't really connect yet, and he was like, he really wouldn't look me in the eyes yet. Like we had years of relationship building because of his autism, and it all felt and became worth it, you know. But it was just really hard, and we really worked for our relationship. But at that point, he was not there yet. And it meant a lot to me because it was a moment in time where I was all by myself with him every day, almost all day. She'd come home for maybe like 30 minutes to an hour to say hi to him, shower and get clothes and go back. And it was just me and him. So I had him for like almost a week by myself. And that time meant more to me than I can really explain, even though it was really hard. It meant a lot to me. So she's pulling on that string. She's pulling on that string. Just got here, is going to ask if you live in Arizona and if you're going to the trial in Arizona. We're not sure yet. It really just depends. I'm sure we probably will, to be honest with you. Sorry, I'm just reading your guys' chat, just catching up real quick. Got new members. You guys are awesome. And yeah, if you guys know, if you've had someone if you have someone you know who has autism, just depends on kind of where they sit with everything. But, you know, JJ really had a hard, just being born was very difficult for JJ. And I don't know, he was a miracle. Altogether, he was a miracle. And it took us just years to build a real relationship. And it meant everything to me. And she's pulling on that, which I realize how manipulative that is. And it really hurts. And that's why I just started bawling, because she's pulling on real stuff for me. It's real to me. In my opinion, I think Tylee too much. Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard because there's a lot of things that I think there's a lot of almost conspiracy theories if you want to go down that road. But at the end of the day, I think that they just had malice in their heart. No matter what Tylee did, they had malice in their heart. JJ and her did nothing wrong. Charles did nothing wrong. Tammy did nothing wrong. So this was all for their own gain at the end of the day. And these were decisions she made and they made together to get what they want from people, and thought that they were just inevitable. So I don't know. It's a lot of things we could say. Anyway, let's get back to it. Love you guys. We're still going. And we're getting there. We're 12 minutes in. We're doing good.
As a 2-year-old, before medication, before we knew he had autism, he would just run like 100 miles an hour. And I remember, because when you picked us up at the airport, and you were so mad at me when you picked me up with JJ, and you're like, what are you doing? And you're too old to be, you're a grandma age, and you're too old to have this baby, and what are you doing? And he's going to have so many problems, and you were really mad. And JJ came with his own love, and you fell in love with JJ. You, Colby, did. And when you had to take care of him during that time, I think that bonded you the most to him. When you took care of him, and Tylee and I were in the hospital, and Charles was in Hawaii trying to set up the house. And
absolutely.
We were trying to move out of that huge 5,000 square foot house, and we were just throwing everything in the dumpster because we couldn't move it. We didn't have time because we didn't expect Tylee to be with pancreatitis in the hospital, and I was in there with her screaming. And so you are the only person that deserves to know the truth. Also, I can't tell the story of what happened to Tylee and JJ without telling Tylee's life. And I don't necessarily want to tell that to the public, but you know it. You are the only person who lived it with me and her. You lived it with me. You went with me and her to therapy every week. You were the ones there where she was crying and screaming and throwing things in walls because they were forcing her to go to jail. You saw all of her moods. You knew how she had depression and anxiety attacks. And you and Kelsey were even coming over to mentor her during that time. You know, because you.
So this had nothing to do with my question, right? I asked her what she meant by her statement, and I could have been more clear. I realize that now, but I could have said, you made this in your statement. What did you mean by that? You said that nobody was killed. All this stuff happened. There's accidental deaths, suicides, all these things. Who are you talking about, and what do you mean? And here we are having this whole conversation about something that I never we're talking about. And this is what I mean, guys. This is what I'm talking about is here's the beginning point. Now here we are doing this. I mean, nothing you're saying has anything to do about what I asked you in the first place. So she's basically trying to give me a whole history lesson of my history and then my siblings' history and how we're all interconnected. I know all that, right? But it's a manipulation tactic to try to reground us together in the same boat. And that is what really, hit me in the face is why are you telling me this story? I know that stuff. I lived it. What is the goal here? And why are we having this conversation? And why are you saying all this sweet nothings to me? I mean, was I there for the kids and they're a part of our family? Yes, but so were other people. So why are you just telling me all this runaround stuff when I asked you a very simple question? So to me, when I listen to this, it sounds like she's really trying to get out of answering the question because she kept avoiding it, kept saying, I don't know if you want this to be public. She's trying to tell me I wouldn't want this public. No, I'm asking you. So obviously I'm accepting whatever your answer is going to be. Not that it's the truth, but I'm telling you in the interview what happened. I'm asking you. So I'm just trying to get her to answer the question. It's tough. Colby, you're an amazing child of God. First of all, thank you. I love how you utilize scripture for truth. You exude the Holy Spirit. It's beautiful. You feel like you need closure with Chad. That's a really good question. Thank you for saying that. I don't know Chad. I don't know him at all. Never met him, saw him at court, and I don't know who this man is. The closure I think I needed was with the one person I could get closure with in any way, shape, or form at this point is my own mom. And that's what this conversation kind of was. If you guys have heard the end of this conversation, and we'll get into that later, I was one of the reasons I was calling my mom was to say goodbye to her, basically, because I never really had planned on ever having another conversation because this was it. This is all I ever needed, and it's not like I wanted it, but she said what she said. So with that being said, I don't really have a lot of feelings on him. He's someone that aided in the most horrible downfall in my family. And I had to process him differently again because I don't know this guy. This is a random person that I've just heard stories about. So, yeah, he's just someone I've had to process through and still will have to process how crazy it is to have someone like that just pop in and do all this stuff. But in my opinion, my mom is the gateway to everything. So if my mom doesn't greenlight this stuff, then this won't happen. If she would have stood against all of this and said, no, this is wrong, this is not happening, you're not doing this to my family, ran away and had every opportunity to do so, I have to accept the fact that my mom was willing to do all of this and was a willing passenger, if you will. So you just have to take it for what it is. Kelsey, stop it. Don't start the Peter Griffin chats in here. Don't get everybody starting to just do the Peter Griffin. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I mean, this whole thing was really tough. I mean, what are you supposed to do with all these different catalysts and all these different people? What do you do? You have all these people who have done horrible things together, and two of them are your family members, and one is some random guy you've never heard of. What do you do with that? And you got to deal with it. I have a lot of things I could say. I have learned to, even though I could say a lot of funny things about this situation, and not that it's funny, but about them as people and their fantastical side and all those things, I really try to tend to just say less and not try to go for the joke, because he's someone I've definitely tried to steer from making more fun of. I mean, I already told my mom how I feel about him. So I think I've just kind of kept my opinions in that way to myself. Anyway, we're going to keep going. You know, there's a lot to process all at once. So we're going through it. We're taking our sweet time. We're almost through. Not at all. It's 14 minutes, but appreciate your guys' comments. I appreciate you being here. This is fun for me. As hard as this is, it's fun for me to see you guys here. And I appreciate you guys leaving your opinions. So let's keep going.
You were there with JJ, you were there with Tylee, and and I didn't want to write it out like that. I didn't want to just say, oh, this is what happened. I wanted to talk to you and answer your questions so I can tell you everything that actually happened. And if you have a question of something, well, the police said this, and I have an answer for that. That's not what, they weren't there and they don't know. So I wanted to talk to you so I could hear your questions and answer your questions because you are the only person besides me on this whole earth who really loved both of them.
How many times has that been said? That's been said so many times. It's not true. And you just have to keep. It was just really rough. This whole thing's rough.
And so you heard what happened if you heard that what I wrote.
They wouldn't give me the detail really, so that's why I'm asking, because I that's what.
But I'm happy. I would be happy to tell you personally and privately because I don't know if you want those details out in the public.
Well, you pretty much said it in the trial. So I guess I'm wondering why you said those things if you weren't willing to just share if that's the truth. If that's the truth that you say it is.
Well, it is the truth, and it's exactly what happened. But
do you want me to say what I've seen personally?
Sure.
Oh, she didn't want to hear what I had to say. The reason I hit her with the reality of what happened afterwards is because this conversation was steering, and so I'm basically getting her to understand what I know, and basically that's what I was saying to her. I learned I could have been way more direct and said, this is the evidence. But I was trying not to trigger, said it a million times, and just giving you guys context. But I had to just lay it out and say, this is what the evidence was, and this is what happened in the aftermath of whatever happened to them. So I needed her to know I knew what that really looked like, and she needed to understand that I'm not stupid. So.
It's going to be heavy, so I hope you're ready for this. They found my little brother in a bag, tied up, buried, and then they found remnants of my sister. Remnants, not even
remnants, not remnants.
The person anymore. Remnants of her.
Can you imagine why that is? Do you have any reason to think that would happen?
What kind of question is that? Do you have any idea why that was the case? No, I'm asking you. Hello. Sorry, that's the snappy side. Let me slow my roll here.
No.
So, did you know Tylee's desire of wanting to be cremated?
It's hard to listen to this, bro.
That was your version of cremating her?
It wasn't mine.
Whose was it?
Because that doesn't sound.
It wasn't mine. But did you know that she had that desire?
No.
Well, so you don't know because you weren't there, but after Charles passed away, and Alex and I and Tylee were at our table in there at the house in Chandler, and we were going over Charles
passed away. The delusion is, it's not even delusion. It's, here's my middle finger. Why don't you put it in your mouth? That's what it's like, bro. My gosh. To sit there and say this stupid stuff, to bring up Tylee as if that was her desire after she was murdered, that was her desire. That's what she wanted. Sick. Utterly ridiculous. And why would you say that to me? Why would you say that to me? Like, I'm not. It's just ridiculous, bro. I'm getting real heated here. This is the time I can be mad now. I can really let it out. Not on the phone with her. Should have just went off on her, but what is?
Wishes, and Charles had put all his stuff down saying he wanted to be cremated and don't ever put me in a box or I'll come back and haunt you, because he was claustrophobic. He didn't like the idea of being in a box, and he had said all these funny things on his letter to me. And Kylie said to me and Alex at the time, she said, don't you put me in a box either. She's like, whenever I'm out of here, I want to be cremated. That was her big thing.
So why wasn't she cremated?
Put into a box.
Why didn't you cremate her? If she
Yeah, exactly. If that was her desire, anyway, so it's so illogical. Exactly. Why would you let anybody? How could you be pitched on any of this? Oh my gosh, bro. Okay. This is getting into the deep end, so let's just keep going.
wasn't murdered, why was she picked?
But she wasn't.
Okay, according to what you say, and you say you were there, I'm trying to give you this space without telling you what I think and feel. I'm trying to ask you the question because that's not cremation. I have my brother and sister's ashes. That's cremation. I have them.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine coming in on that scene? Can you imagine as a mother, your father now? So imagine you come in and find two of your children deceased.
So they just died out of nowhere.
I didn't say that.
You come home or whatever, and both your kids are dead. And then what? You just never tell me what happened? Or you never tell anybody anything? I'm trying to understand you.
You can't, because you can't imagine what that is like. You can't even imagine, you know how much I love those kids. You know how much I put into them. You know how much I've done everything to protect them. You know how much I've done everything to get Tylee every kind of
Okay,
help.
so hold on. This is what I'm talking about. What does that have to do with anything I asked you? How did you go from the conversation we're having about you, what you just said, which is a bomb, by the way, an absolute bomb, that you walked in and found them unalived, okay? Then now somehow it's about everything you ever did. Why do you deserve a medal for being a parent? Is that, if I miss this, where's the award ceremony? I'll come. Do I get one? I've changed a lot of diapers. Oh my gosh. What are we doing right now? I don't understand what you're telling me. I don't need to hear the backstory of everything good you've ever done. That doesn't change anything. It has nothing to do with what I asked you or what we're talking about. There's so out of context. So out of context. So what are we talking about here? What are you talking about? I've done everything I've ever done, and I did everything for those kids, and I fed them, and I put clothes on their back, and I put a roof over their head. Okay. Kind of the point. If your child goes to the hospital, you should want to sleep on the floor next to him if you can't find a bed. I don't understand what we're freaking talking about here. Oh, guys, if Kelsey was here, she would be going off. She would be going crazy. It's so frustrating because it's just like she's always kind of done that and thrown it in your face. Like, I've done everything I can for you. I've done everything for you. Okay, then don't do it for me, because now you're throwing it back in my face. You raised me, you bought me a pair of Jordans, whatever. Then don't even take them back. Have them. Because if you're going to throw what you did in people's faces, as a parent, by the way, not like your friend, not like your cousin, but your parent telling you, I've done all this, this, and this for you, giving you a list of stuff. I don't understand what this has to do with the context of what I asked. And I'm realizing that's the circle that we're going in here. Every time I ask a question, we go out of here. You guys like the sound effects? I'm putting this out here so Kelsey sees it. She will. We will definitely do something when it's the right time. All right, let's keep going.
Court to keep her safe.
Okay.
Fought in every kind of hospital so they wouldn't do a whole bunch of horrible stuff to her when she was sick all the time. You know what I did for them.
I know.
So you imagine walking in, finding them, and they had been gone for hours. There was nothing I can do, even though you just can't imagine. You can't imagine that scenario because until you live it, you can't imagine that scenario. And when I came in,
There we go.
and I knew Tylee had been upset, and I knew that she was upset with me that weekend because she wouldn't stay in the house because I would only stay there. She only give, as you know. Everyone knows this.
It's hard for me to listen to her talk. I'm getting more interested in what you guys are saying and listening to her repeat this stuff. Ugh. It's just so hard to listen to because I'm out of the emotion of the fact that I'm talking to her now. I'm out of the emotion. And as I'm listening, the more frustrating everything becomes. And I think she just mentioned it. I hope I'm right. She just mentioned that Tylee had to take the essential oils in 6th grade. My mom made her take those because her teacher was trying to help her with her health and said, here's a bunch of essential oils you can take. You can take the little pill capsules, fill them up, and take them. She genuinely cared. And my mom was the one who was forcing the essential oils on her. So like even stupid little things like that where she's mixes it up and now the teacher's the problem. The teachers made her take it. The teacher didn't make her take it. You did. I remember that. And Tylee hated it. And I even took them one time myself. And they were horrible because they can taste the essential oil. And then I remember I burped it up. TMI, don't care. It was literally one of the worst tastes and one of the worst feelings in my stomach ever having that essential oil inside me. So all I'm saying is stupid things like that to constantly make you look like the good guy and constantly flip little things like that on their heads is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm getting real frustrated. She walked in and found them. She thought Tylee killed JJ on purpose and came to her and corrected and explained them as an accident. Okay, well, one of the things, and we can talk about that too as it comes up. Thank you for your chat. Her thing was too that she said it was an accident or is in spite. So she can't even come up with a real explanation for herself. You said Tylee either did it in spite or it was an accident. What lane do you want to pick? Right? Why don't you pick a side? Why don't you do at least if you're going to make believe land, maybe since you scripted it in a bunch of pages, you can't even remember what you wrote. It doesn't make any sense. And obviously it's not true, but this is where we're at.
Jay did her. And she couldn't stand her smell because she had the essential oils, and Tylee got sick off the essential oils in 6th grade because her teacher made her drink the essential oils.
You did.
To help with pancreatitis.
Come on, Colby.
You remember all that.
Yeah.
So she didn't want to stay there. So I asked her to babysit JJ, put him to bed that night, which is what she always has done, right? She was going to.
Okay. Why does Tylee always put him to bed? That's not true. And Tylee really did take care of JJ. And I'm sure she had to pick up an extra load because of how much more crazy my mom was becoming. And Tylee was more sane than her. It's just ridiculous.
I was going to do my podcast with stupid Melanie and Dave, right? So JJ wouldn't interrupt it. And then I was picking him up in the morning to get him ready and take him to school. And when I came in on that scene and they were gone, I thought Tylee did it to get back at me. I thought it was all my fault.
Okay.
I thought she was.
So Tylee got mad. Tylee got mad at you. And so does what? Does that make any sense? Who would do that to spite their mom? It's the stupidest freaking thing you've ever heard in your life. Here it is, right here, ladies and gentlemen. Stupidest thing you've ever heard in your life. This is it.
Mad at me, and that's what had happened. And the reason why she visited me and why JJ visited me and came to me right after that is because to tell me that it wasn't my fault, because I wasn't blaming myself 100%. 100%. Why?
It's 1,000% on you. 1,000% on you. And that's even you, in a sense, admitting it. It was your fault. Just because you might not have put your physical hands and did the work, that's really not the same thing. They're your kids. And at this point, they're solely your kids and your responsibility. It's not even a question. So now it's feel sorry for me again. I thought it was all my fault. I thought that she did it in spite, and I made her mad, so she did that. Who does that when they're mad, bro? Almost nobody. Especially not Tylee. Frick out of here. You're pissed.
Why didn't I get Tylee more help? Why did I let her get off of her meds? Why did I not do something different? Why did I let Melanie get to stay here? Why did I do any of these things that would lead to this?
See,
how could it possibly have happened? Why and how? Why and how? I mean, you can't even imagine what that is like. No one on the earth can imagine what that's like.
You're telling
so
me
now it's her.
Tylee.
Have you noticed? This
So
is another really interesting point. Is there has to be a singling out, okay? There has to be a singling out of yourself as very, very elite, very special. No one can understand what I've gone through. You're thinking other people have never, ever had to walk in and possibly see something like that? And I can't even imagine that, okay? But my point is to even be that disrespectful to people who have lost their children is craziness, because now it's about you again. You're trying to relate to a group you're not a part of. You did the exact opposite. They didn't pass away. We know that for a fact. So to sit there and constantly have to put yourself as an isolated single being is really, really interesting to me, because what is that? Why are you trying to prove a point that you are absolutely so special? That is the opposite of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's the opposite. The first will be last and the last will be first. There's nothing about one of us that puts us above each other, right? I'm not more elite than you. That doesn't make sense. I'm not better than you. But she has to feel better about herself. It always refers, everything in this conversation is a big dome, half dome that all has a spotlight back to her. So she's the victim. She shouldn't be going through this. It's everybody else's fault, and everything in between. And you should feel bad for her. We're still trekking along here. Let's get it.
JJ's life. And then took her own life.
On accident.
And took her own life then? After?
She said correct,
So
I think.
who chopped and burned her? And who duct taped JJ and put him in the ground? What I'm asking you. You were saying what? So you told me.
Sorry, you're just cutting out. I can't hear what your question is.
So you're telling me Tylee took JJ's life, then took her own life, and then someone cremated her by dismembering her and burning her and throwing her in a pet cemetery, and then somebody bound JJ, put him in a trash bag, and threw him in the backyard. And that was it. That was the end of it.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I wasn't aware what happened to them after I left that.
So yeah, guys, this is what we were dealing with the whole time. Audio was horrible. Her phone, whatever she was on, her tablet, really horrible quality. Ton of screeching. There's a lot of edits I made off those because the phone would literally sound like like someone screaming, or literally there was some screaming in the background, stuff like that. So it was horrible. But this is all tough, man. This is really, really tough. Thank you guys for being here. Walking through something this difficult publicly is not something I'd ever do in my life. But you guys being here really shows me that it's possible to share your thoughts and be vulnerable. And I don't know. I just appreciate you spending your night with me.
See?
Okay, so you gave it to someone else. You gave the responsibility to someone else, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. And then
I didn't. I just ran out.
okay.
I just.
So you're saying someone else took care of the situation.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said you.
It's breaking up.
I'm saying that you're saying to me that someone else took care of it. That's it. Then I don't have to go into more detail there. Somebody else took care of these things. So, so you.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
I'm telling you that their spirits were gone from their bodies.
Okay, pause right there. This is where the zombie thing was why I started here with her. Because the whole reason, their whole reasoning, and a little bit of what they basically, I guess, based their whole fake religion on was ideas that these zombies were part of their mission to take them out, right? So that's why it was ridiculous, because it's like, it's so ridiculous, bro. For her to say they're not in their bodies, she had that belief of them not being in their bodies supposedly before, because she believed in zombies, but she can lie about it all she wants. You call someone a Z, what are you calling them? A zebra? Stupid. All right, let's keep going before I start popping off too much. I love you guys.
At that time, they were gone. They were already in heaven. They were already gone.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So you're saying that they were gone, and why, if that's the case, then why wouldn't you just tell us? What was their secrecy for? Why didn't anybody know?
There's a lot of reasons. Colby and I've gone over that a million times, and
What
I
million
can tell you
times?
from the beginning, my thoughts then and my thoughts now obviously are different. I've had lots of therapy about it, to kind of work through it myself. But at the time, I didn't want anyone to know what Tylee had done to JJ, and I wanted to continue to protect Tylee as her mother, who has been trying to protect her whole life. Like, this is my scenario, Colby. What if Tylee holding JJ down for too long, trying to get him to not scream and be loud in the apartment, which she was always upset about. We weren't in a big house anymore. We were in these tiny little apartments, and he was loud. And what if she held him down too long and realized afterwards what she had done? What if she had come running to me and told me what she had done, right? That it was an accident? Do you not think that I would have told police that I did it to save Tylee? Because you know that I would have.
Everything is it, and it's not what I'm saying. It's not this, it's not that. It's it. This. You know the truth. You know me. You know what it is. Okay. No. I'm asking you to say it. I appreciate you saying that. That's the whole point, guys. I'm not gonna lie. This conversation was so hard, but I'm glad it happened, only because it just released me. I needed it, in a sense. I needed to give her an opportunity. I never led her in a question. I never tried to get her to say anything that I wanted her to say. I really just asked the questions. She danced around me a lot, right? And then on top of that, after those conversations, after these answers, after this conversation, interview, whatever you want to call this, it was an interview, but after what she said, it just took me like 2 days to kind of pull myself back up. And then after that, I realized slowly over time, and again, with your guys' comments and everybody who has kind of chimed in for it, right? Like Dr. John and Lauren, and just kind of really realizing how bad this is, how much mistreatment there is. It pulled me out of that emotional state that I was feeling, that kid in me that was really still there, and really let me fully realize. And now there's been serious like healing in a very short amount of time. So I just wanted to put that out there because it's so ridiculous, the whole thing. But everything she's saying right now is so beyond ridiculous.
Who would have done anything to protect Tylee? And in my mind at that time, and people might think it's not rational, but wasn't rational at that time because you can't imagine what it's like to find your children in that way. You can't imagine. So no, I was not being rational. However, I was still protecting Tylee in my mind, and I still am. This is why I only wanted to tell you privately. I didn't want to tell the world what went on. I don't want to tell the world that Tylee stopped taking her medication 2 weeks before this. She was on anti-anxiety medication, anti-depression medication. She was on a medication for panic attacks, and she was on birth control so her ovarian cyst wouldn't be bad. She was on all that stuff. And when we moved up to Idaho, 2 weeks before, a week after we got there,
Exactly.
she said she didn't want to take her meds anymore. And I said, honey, you can't go off meds cold turkey. You can't just you have to wean off.
He's blaming her and gave her a fake backstory. I don't know if any of those prescriptions are real. I'm not saying it's not possible, but if that is, then that's even more sad. That's even more messed up, because that just proves to me right there that she's literally saying all this stuff. She was taking all that stuff. Why was she taking all that stuff? Why? That's a lot. Why was she on antidepressants and anxiety medication and all of this stuff? And then she just said one day, frick this, I'm not taking it, right? Out of nowhere. Just went cold turkey. So she made a backstory. I'm not saying it's impressive. It's just crazy that you would spend the amount of time to give a backstory to that, you know?
Of them. And you know how she was, and you know how stubborn she was, and you know how she would do anything that I told her to do, and she would do the opposite. So no, I haven't wanted to tell everybody, and nobody could even understand how it could get to this point unless they understood what had happened to Tylee since she was 3 years old. So yes, I have been protecting Tylee.
All right, hold on. I just saw something I want to pull up. No. That never happened. I don't know what that. I've heard that. I've tried to address this before. That never happened. Tylee never tried to be emancipated. Tylee basically lived an adult life around 15 and 16, because she kind of had to be by herself in a lot of ways. Because now I can see what I didn't see before. And my mom was so hands off, and Tylee really had too much responsibility and was doing things that she should have never done. But she never was trying to be emancipated, and she never. I don't even know if Tylee really understood what that was. I'm sure she's very intelligent, so she probably knew what that was. But no, I don't think Tylee ever tried to do that, ever. So I just wanted to address that because I know I've seen that before. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you, Faith. I'm glad we can share this horrible thing together, because it is really hard. I'm just going to read you guys' chat for a second because I need a break. A break from her talking. Both. I think you have to be very fantastical, and I think you have to try to make stuff up, but a part of you does want to believe that it's true. If you guys didn't see my conversation with Dr. John, it was a really good conversation just because we kind of touched on that more. Really talking about how I feel some people really zoom out of reality into a different world. And I think everybody kind of does that, right? You go see a movie, kind of 2 hour break from your life. You go watch a Marvel movie, whatever, Star Wars, romance, whatever. Or you go play your video games, you're kind of tuning out. You're kind of in this world that's not real. At the same time, though, you don't pull that into real world. You don't start living that. So I think, yes, there's delusion, and then there's a lot of lying. And then it's kind of just mixed really, really, really well together. Because a lot of this I think she knows she doesn't make any sense. That's my opinion. So, all right, let's see where we're at, guys. 27 minutes. Let's see if we can at least get to 35, 40 minutes, and then we'll make it. We'll make a decision. We'll either call it there and do a part 2 tomorrow night or something like that. But yeah, this is going to be a long one. So I keep saying it. It's going to be a long video, a really, really long video. So, all right, here we go. Let's just keep going. I really don't want to hear her talk anymore, but that's what we're doing.
Tylee, I will continue to protect Tylee. I didn't want this to be made public. I didn't testify in court for that purpose.
To
They
protect
could
her
put me in
name.
here for 5 lifetimes. They could put me in here for 1 million lifetimes. It doesn't matter to me.
So I just want to understand, because this is what I asked you before. You're telling me that all of this is to protect my sister's name because of what she did. Is that what you're telling me?
In my mind, yes.
Yeah, 3 times. Okay. 3 times she said in my mind. I really didn't catch that until I watched Hidden True Crimes video. I didn't know she said it 3 times. It's a lot. Very interesting thing to say to somebody, because it's very specific to say, I'm telling you it's all in my mind. That's what it looks like and feels like. She's really saying it's all in my mind. And I thought that's like her saying straight up, this is not real, because she's saying it's in my mind. I don't know. Really interesting comment to make, though, 3 different times. And to end it off by saying, in my mind, yes, I'm protecting Tylee. So why is it only in your mind? Is it the reality or not? Obviously not.
I think it's hard because I've come to know the prosecutors myself. I've looked at a lot of the evidence. There was nothing left of my sister to even really look at, because somebody was so brutal with her. Somebody was so sick with her after she was taken.
I can't hear you, Colby. It's cutting out.
I said that.
I can't really hear anything you're saying.
I said that it was. I've talked to the prosecutors. I've looked at a lot of what they've shown me, and Tylee was so brutally mistreated after her death that it wasn't even human. It wasn't even humans.
I don't know why I said humans. I meant it was inhumane. Hi, Kresha. I appreciate you being here. We love you. Appreciate you. Yeah, oh, sorry. I got rid of her comment. Love always wins. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It is tough. Let's keep going, guys. Sorry, I shouldn't have paused it.
Well, I'll tell you something about what I know about the minute. And because of my own experience of being outside of my body, right? You could care less what happens to your body after you die. You could care less.
Okay, hold on.
And I know people on Earth are really worried about it.
I don't
get
want to
it.
hear it. I'm sorry.
I get it.
I don't want to know.
I did not intend for that to be done to
It's
her.
the most brutal
I did
thing
not
I've
know
ever heard
that
in my
was
life.
being done to her.
It's the most brutal thing I've ever heard in my life. So I don't want to go over that, really.
Me either.
JJ,
She didn't
I
have
want to think
surgery.
about
Yeah.
that.
JJ was
They were
found,
not in there, Colby. They were not in there, is what I'm telling you.
but I'm telling
So no
you,
matter what happens to you when you're at a coroner's office and they cut you open and do an
So
autopsy.
why are you saying we're not talking about a coroner's office? We're not talking about any other situation than what we talked about. It's so linear and so easy to keep what we're saying on base, but you're just going so far off or not. That has nothing to do with what I've said. Why are you trying to soften the blow? And you just said you weren't aware, by the way. You just literally told me you weren't aware what happened after the fact. So what are we doing here? Why are you trying to justify now you don't care what happens to your body after? I'm not stupid. I get that. If you're gone, you're gone. Nobody does that to someone they know or love. No one rarely ever goes as far as they did with Tylee. Ever. Ridiculous.
See,
Okay.
yeah, that's really gross. It's
No,
really
that's not
gross
what
when
I'm
they do
talking
that
about.
to anybody.
That's not what I'm talking about. But with JJ,
You're not in there.
JJ was found fighting his bag that he was put in. So did Tylee held him down too long or put a bag over his head? Because that was the evidence
Absolutely.
that JJ was being suffocated by somebody. That was the
Okay, so that is not the case. So when I found my little precious babies, there was no bag, there was no tape,
okay, so
there's
they're just both
nothing
dead.
of that. They were just gone.
Okay.
Anything that was done.
Right here, this face that I'm making, I was pretty much done. There was no argument to be had. There was no conversation to be had there. So, oh, here's a positive one. Shelby, do we have a baby yet? We are so close. So close. Yeah, if you guys don't know, Kelsey's due date is technically October 22nd. So we are on baby watch. So shout out to Kelsey. She's doing amazing. She is trucking through the last couple of days of the pregnancy. And it is, can't imagine. That's a whole nother level of hard. So she's doing really great though. Thank you for saying that. We are close to having our baby. So there's a lot of good things happening at the same time. It's our first boy. We're really excited about that. That's good. It's nice to change the pace a little bit in this conversation. So thank you for that. All right. Let's see. Got some more chats. It went away. Oh, here we go. Yeah. It's just all hard. It's really hard. Yeah, I can't even really think about it really like in detail about what happened. It's too hard to think about that stuff, you know. But to even go through what we just went through, to just have that conversation and me asking you, okay, so what happened to my family? If you're saying publicly to everybody else that all of this was accidents and accidental, then I just don't know. To pitch this to me at all, it's so disrespectful to everybody.
Was after the fact, long after the fact. They were not in there.
Okay. And that brings me to a question here. With all of this being said, what has it been like for you?
Sorry, you're cutting out.
Okay.
I didn't hear you because I
said,
was cut out.
What has it been like for you then since 2020? How have you been affected by all this? Can you hear me?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I really alley-ooped the narcissist on that one. I'm not sure. That was one of the conversations that was going to be had because it was supposed to be so linear through our interview, and then I was going to ask her this question, which was, how has this affected you since, you know, this is what it is? And the last questions we were actually going to get to was Tylee and JJ. Obviously the interview was all over the place, and I just had to ask her midway through. But that question, I really set her up for an alley-oop to dunk on her own feelings. So.
Hear that?
I said,
No, I didn't hear that. Only part of it.
Since that's what you're going to say, how have you been affected since 2020? How has this affected you?
I not been affected? It's my whole life. Like, I was never going to tell anybody anything about anything ever.
Okay, so you would have never told
Suck
me.
it up.
You're never gonna tell anybody. It is freaking wild, guys. Freaking wild. We got to take breaks. We got to take little midway breaks throughout this interview. It is that ridiculous. We got a chat here. Is there a baby registry, Amazon wish list? I think, Kelsey, we still have our baby registry, which you guys have been amazing in helping us with everything for our little boy. Almost said his name. Kelsey, don't get mad. Almost said his name. I'm really bad with that. Yeah, we do have it. It's still in our link tree on my channel if you guys are interested in that. I've seen some comments. If I'm getting counseling personally, and yes. Yes. I think it's very important. And it's really, really going to take a long time to process all this stuff. I think that this is the beginning of the full journey, is all of us doing this together. So I thank you guys for that, because you're a part of it. Got another super sticker. Hi, Dr. Vonda. Again. You guys are really sweet. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. So we're going to continue. We are going to continue going. Brand new baby. Yes. Super, super excited. Yeah. And it's going to take a lifetime. And I'm accepting that. It's okay. It's okay. And I never wanted to unpack the book. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not like this is something I foresaw myself doing. I thought that I would just try to keep going forward in life, but I think you have to stop and deal with things like this. You just have to stop and you just have to deal with it. And it took a long time, but I will say, and this will be another conversation for another time, but after Chad's trial, I mentioned this a few times on the channel already. I don't know, something just kind of felt like it was at peace a little bit, and time to just start really unpacking some of it. And so this is what this channel has turned into, is us unpacking this hard crap. And honestly, it's public anyway. All this stuff was public. Obviously, the interview I did with her wasn't, but it's public. So that's another reason we're talking it through, because I feel like part of me is also diving back in, learning new details, stuff I never heard before or wasn't aware of, and we're just unpacking it together as a group. So it's going to take a while to get through. Let me look at the timestamp where we're at. Let's just rock for a little bit longer. We'll let you know if we're going to keep going. I really, again, say it a million times already, appreciate you guys being here. Also, mods, thank you so much for being here and helping. You guys are working hard. I appreciate you. And thank you for all your guys' love and support, every single one of you. There's Kelsey. I like that pick. I took that pick. Pretty good. I think I took that pick. No, someone's going to get mad at me if I didn't take it. Anyway, you guys, and another thing I've seen is that you guys also have experienced hard things with your family. It is hard, and this stuff is not easy when it's family stuff. When something this hard happens in your own family, it just takes a very long time to process. Very, very long time to process. So, all right, we're gonna jump back in, hop back into our next piece of this. Yeah. We're all unpacking this. Doesn't really make any sense. And I don't think we'll ever make sense of it. I don't think I'll ever make sense of it, but the part of us that needs to understand what we can and then go from there, that's what you do. You unpack what you can, and hopefully there's a lot of lessons for everybody. That's what matters. All right. Let's keep going, guys.
He would have never told
But
me.
when I was at the
He would have never
well,
told
you're
me.
the only person I wanted to tell you, and you're the only person I wanted to tell, and I wanted that to be privately.
Say, well,
The only person I deserve to know.
That can't just be something private, Mom. That's not something you can just tell me that I would just be accepting and understanding of. You have to understand that. I would never agree with you. I would never bury my siblings in some random dude's backyard and act like it never happened. I would never let that happen. I would have, even if that's what happened, which I'm going to be honest with you, I hope you can understand, because I wanted to be respectful enough to listen to what you said. I've really tried to listen and study what you've said, and based off of everything that I have shown, that they were both murdered, and that's what you said didn't happen. So I think that we're not going to get anywhere there. I think that's just, I wanted to hear what you had to say, because you said you were there, and you said that those were your children and those were my siblings. But I can't sit here and say that I agree with you at all. I don't think that's what happened. It's just not what I think happened based off of evidence.
When we all get to heaven, you'll know.
Okay.
That's
Right there, arrogant son of a gun. You're arrogant. You're really arrogant. And that's what hurts me. As a part of me really was like, what's the other side look like if you get there with this kind of attitude and you stand in front of Jesus? We all have to go through that. That is our own accountabilities for our own lives. When you get there and you're this arrogant, what is the real Jesus going to say? That used to terrify me for her, because I'm like, I don't want her to have to suffer eternally. But at the same time, we make our own choices. This is your choice. You get to make. This is your opportunity. You don't have to do this. You're not being forced. You can get out by accepting it. It's just had to accept a lot of hard things, hard realities. That's all you can do. Shelby. That's actually really cool. Pregnant at the same time, huh? It's just, yeah, her comments. When you get to heaven, you'll see. Okay. It's going to be a rough day, ain't it? It's really hurtful for you to even say that as if it's such a fact. It's not a fact. But anyway, let's keep going.
I can't tell you anything different. You
Right,
know,
no.
I can't tell anybody different, and I don't care what anybody thinks. Really, like, they weren't there, and they don't know. So
Okay, well, that's what you meant then on that phone call.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
You told me on that phone call that I would know, and you said they don't know, and I definitely listened to that phone call again, because I was so hurt, because it sounded like you were just giving me a middle finger, and you said F you.
I wasn't, honey.
Oh,
I
yes, you
wanted
were.
to tell you.
Oh my gosh, yes, you were. You were arrogant. You held your head high, and you legitimately were like, you weren't there. You don't know. Where were you when that happened? You were literally so arrogant in that call. And again, that's something I actually processed on this channel. If you guys have seen it, it's one of my other videos. That was actually one of the first reactions I ever did, was just starting this process and really realizing how bad that conversation was. And she's way more loving. That's another big thing I took from that first conversation to now, is how much more she's trying to genuinely just tsunami me with love and try to act like we're best friends and pull me into the same. And it's just us two against the world, and it's two peas in a pod, and everything is, what's the word? She's pulling me into a trap and trying to make it seem like we are absolutely the same person still, and that somehow you're still my mom. She doesn't understand how I do not look at her the same way. And I even, a part of me even was like, why did I keep calling her mom? Well, she's my mother, but at the same time, it's like a part of me was really trying not to give her any ammo in her clip for any fire offs. And she was already still trying to pull on me and say, it's just us, it's just us, it's just us our whole lives. And that really does hurt, because she was a single mom for a lot of my life, and I clung to her. She was the person I clung to the most. I wanted my mom when I was a kid, and it's just really hard. So I don't know. It is It's just not easy. Uh-oh, Kelsey's having lots of cramps, guys. Might be the time. Might be baby boy time. Yeah, it's really, really, really hard to process this whole thing. So let's keep going.
The attorneys told me don't say anything on a jail call. Nothing. Don't ever say anything. They pound that into you, from day one. Like, so you're asking me, and I'm like, I can't tell you on this phone call, but I want to tell you. You're the only person I wanted to tell because I wanted you to be able to grieve, and I wanted you to be able to mourn, and I wanted you to be able to tell the difference between what they're saying actually happened and that you would know privately what really happened. Let them say whatever they want. Who cares? It's gone way out of proportion. But I wanted you to have that for your own peace. That's it. For your own peace of mind. You know Tyler better than anybody on earth except for me. You did. You lived it with me.
So can I ask you another question then? Obviously, I have a million. I'm trying to keep this very, really to the point of the things. I think that I've noticed you say you have a lot of these enemies. And
why don't we go through this? Why don't we do this? We're gonna go through this next question, her answer, and before it keeps going, we're gonna pause it here. We're gonna do a part 2. We'll keep processing this, and then we will go from there. But I really do, again, we'll say it all the time, appreciate you guys and love you guys for being a part of this. So let's get to this next question. We'll talk more. I'll read you guys' chats, and then I will set up another live stream for us to go through this.
That you have believed to be a very big usher into the second coming and Jesus and all these things. So I'm wondering, do you feel that you are this person who's lived multiple lives and is here to do?
Yeah, you know what, guys? Let's just do the live. Let's do a live birth. First one. YouTube's first one. Stream it. Kel, get in here. Let's go. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? That'd be a real interesting live.
Do this thing to usher in Jesus' coming? Is that what all of this hardship on your part is? Is that why you think you're going through so much hardship? Is that you are that person?
You will soon. We're going to talk about her at some point in depth. She deserves that, and I really want to share that about her, who she was.
Well, what do you remember of me telling you about my experiences in the temple? I told you personally. I only told a few people personally, and they've gone running wild with these stories. So I'm asking you what you remember, what I told you personally.
All I remember is your biggest claim is that you had seen Jesus personally, and that he had talked to you, and that he was on your side. That was it. That's what I really remember. I mean, you did tell me about
love you too.
The whole multiple lives thing, but that's about the basis of what I remember you telling me.
Right. And where did I tell you where that experience happened?
Yeah, you said you're in the temple. That's what
So I learned all these things that I know from Jesus personally. So when he came to me in the temple and he put his hands on my head and ordained me to do something for him, like a job, right? And he said, will you do this job if you lose everything? This was in 2017.
Okay.
And then he said, will you do this job if you become like Job? That's what he asked me. Yep. And at the time, when he was right there with me, and you have those wonderful, heavenly, peaceful feelings, I thought, sure, I'll do anything you want me to. Go to the ends of the earth. I'll follow you to the ends of the earth like Peter. And then you walk into that scene and you're on the ground like Peter. Like, what is this about? What do you mean? It was everything. I lost everyone, and including you, which was really the hardest loss of all to me. because you were my best friend for 24 years. And losing you over the past 4 years was harder on me than even losing the kids. But
for her to say that is ridiculous. How do you do that? Absolutely, Crusher. We talked about forgiveness before, guys. My personal take on forgiveness and what I truly believe is you making a decision to forgive somebody is your ability to move on, and not that you forget it or that you stop. It doesn't hurt anymore or anything of that nature. You let it go for yourself. The anger, all the things you're holding on, the spite towards that person, you just let it free. And you feel the weight leave you when you forgive people. Seriously. You really do. Yes, exactly. Well, she wouldn't have went to trial if this was true. She wouldn't be in jail if this was true. She just has to understand I'm not stupid, and no one else is. No one else is buying this stuff. There's actually, and I'm not pointing anybody out, or I'm not trying to hurt somebody's feelings, but I could see that some people were definitely concerned with what she said, and they were genuinely like, maybe she's not lying. Yeah, that's the manipulation right there. I promise you. There's no evidence if you don't know. There's very clear evidence of what really happened. So no, she's not telling the truth. She's not being honest. Tylee did not do that to JJ. And my dad, Charles, did not just pass away. There's a lot of things that she said that are completely wrong. And so there's really nothing that there's no logic. There's no logic. So and then all the Jesus visitations and all that stuff is really, really rough, because it's like now you're trying to validate yourself with the highest power there is.
he asked me to do a job for him. Mm-hmm. And I said that I could, and he said it was going to be terrible. Now I'll tell you this.
Okay.
When you have a visit from Jesus, a personal visit,
right,
then because there is opposition in all things, you will have a personal visit from Lucifer.
Okay.
So weeks after I had this visit with Jesus in the temple, I was in JJ's room at the big house where you got married.
Okay.
And Lucifer was standing right in front of me.
Okay.
And he said to me, I know who you are. I know exactly who you are. And I will stop you. Okay? So, Jesus gave me a job.
Okay.
Lucifer has done every single thing to get me to take my own life, because that is his goal. If I leave here, I cannot do my job for Jesus, right? The only thing I have to do for Jesus is...
All right. So I started crying here. This, I think, one of the first times I cried, because she was trying to tell me that the Savior, Jesus Christ, was basically gave her a job, and that she was going to suffer, and that she was going to go through hell. And now she brings in that she saw Lucifer, and now she's pulling all this spiritual stuff out of the sky, trying to validate herself as a spiritual being, trying to validate herself as this special person, like we talked about before. And the pain of that, because of what I know, what happened to my family, and how everybody was plotted against, and everything of that nature, I started crying, because it's like you had an opportunity here to have a conversation about this stuff. I came in as calm as I could be, and we could have had a conversation, and this is what you're going to tell me. This is what you're going to try to pitch to me all over again. And this could be our last conversation we ever have. And this is what you're going to say. So I guess at the end of the day, it just hit me like a brick, because I know what she said about my family and my sister, my brother, my dad. And then she starts trying to pitch me this whole thing about Jesus. And I was just keep, going for it, going for the jugular. All right. Well, I think it's a good place to stop for us. She goes on, as you guys know. I'd love to do this again with you guys. Again, thank you so much for being here on the live. I know we did a 2-hour live, which is crazy. Thank you guys for keeping it lighthearted and also just your love and support. What we'll do is we'll do another live picking up. Literally, we can pick up right here where we are. I'll actually remove this right now. Pick up our live and we will go from there. But thank you again for being here. I will announce the next time that we go live with this. We'll start where we were. Hopefully, you guys are all there again. We can keep talking this through and going through this. But just wanted to say thank you. Love you guys. Thank you to all of our mods. I think we have a bunch of new members who wanted to join. So that's awesome. If you guys don't know, for our members, what I try to do is just kind of keeps things like to the new information that's coming out and just kind of like where we're going with the channel, the things like interviews, people we're going to have as guests, all that stuff goes to our members first. And most of the time just to our members until we announce the videos. So just want to let you guys know. And thank you guys. Seriously, thank you guys for being here. This is a very, very surreal thing to be talking about, but I'm grateful to open up the book and have so many supportive people. Yeah, just thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of it. Again, let you know when we're going live. Let you know if we're having a baby tonight. Might happen. Don't know. So if that's the case, then we will schedule it for when it's best. But again, love and support is overwhelming for me. Thank you all for spending your night with me, going through this hard stuff. But we're just gonna grind it out. We're gonna finish this video another time and be done with them. So thank you guys for being here live. This was our first really long live I think we've ever done on the channel. So appreciate you guys. Thank you, Janine. Thank you to all of our mods again. You guys did great. Appreciate you. Yep. And I will see you guys soon. Love you guys so much. I will post on the community tab and I will also just go ahead and set up the live like I did for this time. And we'll just do a part 2. So anyway, love you guys. Have a great night. Thank you for being here, and we'll be seeing you soon.